Welcome back to WatchND's exclusive coverage of Signing Day 2014 for the Fighting Irish football team. I'm Jack Nolan. He's Mike Frank of Mike Frank's Irish Sports Daily, and we're going to break a little news here. Niles Morgan's letter of intent has just come in. It was the last one of the 23 that we knew of that we were expecting. Morgan, of course, a 6'2", 225-pound linebacker out of Crete, Illinois. So you're the first person on this show, since it's the official university show, who can talk about this young man. What kind of a player is he?
You know, Niles Morgan's somebody they targeted very, very early. He's a tremendous inside linebacker, and that's really what they needed. You know, you're losing some great talent in Carlo and Dan Fox, and so in order to replace that, you need some great talent. He and Niles Sykes are two outstanding inside linebackers, and Niles Morgan was one of the very first guys that they offered at the position. So in order to nab him, I think it was just a big, big pickup for Notre Dame.
So as we look at this linebacking core, as compared to some of the former linebacking cores that this staff has recruited, they seem to be a little bit smaller, but maybe a little more athletic.
I think that was, you know, by design. I think they realized that in order to cover some of the better tight ends out there, some of the better backs out of the backfield, and to play in space, you got to make sure you got guys who can run. And so that was something they really focused on. I think Niles Morgan certainly fits that bill. Niles Sykes definitely does as well. And then you got the outside backers, guys like Colin Hill, who, you know, is a guy who's going to be kind of a pass rush specialist for Notre Dame. But I also think he's got the ability to turn left, turn right, and be a coverage guy as well.
And certainly future pass rush, one of the key needs in this class, because even this year with some great guys on the line, the rush may not have been what they wanted it to be. The health of their key players was a big part of that. But when you look at the defensive line and the guys they went out and got, how do you think they did in terms of skill and in terms of future pass rush?
Well, that's the most important thing that I think they got in this class. They needed to get better off the edge and getting after the quarterback. And not just that, but making plays, negative plays in the backfield. And so I think trying to get guys who were fast twitch guys, explosive guys, they did a great job of. You know, I know Pete was on, who value his opinion as well. I think Johnny Williams is an outstanding prospect. So what Notre Dame didn't get is probably the five-star guys that are out there, but what they did get, I think, is a lot of five-star potential talent. They're guys that may not be able to play right away and help you right away, but once you get enough size and train them a little bit, get them coached up a little bit, they have the potential to be five-star players. So I think love the talent that they brought in on defense, and I know offensively they're probably ranked a little bit higher, but I think in the end the defensive class is what people are going to be talking about.
Yeah, we just had some Andrew Trembretti video up on the screen. Let's take a big picture look now at what you think of this overall class.
I think it's really, really good. You know, it's not probably going to be a top 5 class, but when you look at their needs, what they needed to get, you know, Brian Kelly and Harry Heastan have made a commitment to making sure that they have great talent and make sure they have plenty of bodies at offensive line. I think in order to win at this level with this kind of climate, you have to have a dominating offensive line. And I think they've done a great job of landing excellent talent, but more importantly, I think defensive line. We saw when you had Captain Lewis Moore, Lewis Nix, and Stephon Tuitt, and Sheldon Day, you had 4 guys who were great talent that could stop the run and really control the line of scrimmage. And so while they may not have got guys who can come in and play immediately and be that kind of productive player right away, when you give them a little time with Paul Longo and get them built up, their bodies, they have the fast twitch and explosion to really become better players down the road. And I think you'll see guys like Johnny Williams, Colin Hill, they're going to take 2 years, but once they're ready to go, they're going to be really, really good players.
And certainly, while maybe not top 5, but I checked all the services last night, consensus top 10, and that was before Daniel Cage, defensive lineman, signed today. So when you look at that and consider the fact that the recruiting pool is smaller than the other elite programs they're going up against, it appears that they did awfully well with guys that they can recruit for this university.
No, I think so, and I've been very, very impressed, because I think maybe some of the staffs previously didn't do a very good job of filling needs every single year. And so what you would have is guys who were playing before they were physically ready to play. And that makes it very difficult to win a lot of football games when you're playing the best teams in the country, which Notre Dame traditionally plays one of the strongest schedules. And to play every week playing a difficult team, you got to make sure you have excellent talent. And so when you bring this much talent in and you're filling every need that you need, you have a great chance to be successful moving forward.
You do this every day all year. Because of NCAA rules, this is the only day that the official university website can touch on recruiting news. But as you do it every day, and as I've watched over the years, this is really an inexact science. I mean, you talk about 5-star and 4-star, but my gut just from watching over the years is that's about 50% accurate. There are 5-stars who take off. There are 5-stars who disappear. There are 2 and 3 stars who become superstars. So, I mean, really, how important are those rankings as opposed to, again, what I talked to Pete Sampson about, the eye test from guys who can judge talent?
I think the big thing is, you mentioned judge talent, and that's very important. But one thing that I think Brian Kelly has done better, and his staff has done better than maybe the previous staffs, is they're looking for guys who want to hit somebody. They're going after very, very aggressive football players. And I think that is what you're going to see moving forward. Notre Dame's going to play with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, high motor guys. And every single guy on that defensive side, I don't look at one of them and say, you know what, I don't know if he has the drive to be a great player. And so that's something I know they're focusing on. They've done a great job of making sure that they land those guys with the mental disposition to be a great player.
Now, one of the guys we haven't talked about a lot on this show so far is linebacker John Bonner. Talk a little bit about him.
Well, you know, John Bonner isn't ranked as high as a lot of people think as far as his potential goes. I know he was in camp. He was at Notre Dame's camp for 3 days. I don't care who you are. No coach gets a chance to look at a player for 3 solid days. You know, you may be able to stop by, watch a little film, check the guy's size out, but you don't get to see him perform and then go perform against guys like Alex Bars, lots of those elite talents that Notre Dame has already signed, and then go in and actually dominate against. They absolutely loved his pass rush ability, his effort, and he probably wasn't a guy they thought they'd offer before he showed up to camp. But when you can get 3 solid days of looking at a guy, you'll never get that much information on a guy. So I think that they know talent, and they think Bonner's going to be a really good player for him.
Another guy I know you're really high on is Jay Hayes, another defensive lineman.
I love Jay Hayes, not just because of his talent, but I think he's got that kind of loose personality. I know Pete mentioned it. He's a guy that kind of keeps things loose and fun out on the field. And, Capron Lewis-Moore wasn't probably as explosive or destructive as maybe a Stephon Tuitt, but Jack, from being around him, he really raised the attitude of the team. Yeah. And he was a big part of that glue on 2012.
An edge to him, a positive edge, but an edge.
And exactly. And I think Jay Hayes is that kind of player. Then you put talent. I think Jay Hayes actually has more talent than Capron Lewis-Moore. So you put those two things together, and I think you got a heck of a steal in Jay Hayes.
Love it when you're getting players out of Texas, because it may be the most fertile state in the country for quality players, both skilled players, line players, and Notre Dame got a good one in Colin Hill, linebacker.
Yeah, Kerry Cooks has a really difficult job. A lot of times coaches, staffs will put 2, sometimes even 3 players in Texas. So it's hard for one guy to cover a state with that many kids and that much. And so, he's really starting to develop some great relationships with coaches down there. I love Blankenship. I think he's a great talent. 6'6", now 6'6.5", 265 pounds. When they were looking at him, he was 230, and so people said, well, is he going to grow? He's already 265 right now. You put a few, 20, 30 pounds on him, and you've got one heck of a defensive end prospect and a guy with a huge motor, great fast twitch guy. I really like his potential.
We're looking at some highlights of him in action. I'll tell you what, I remember back in the 80s, even before you got into this, when Tom Lemming was kind of the first guy that was doing this on a regular basis. It was hard to get tape and film.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's everywhere. You Google anybody, and there it is. How has this changed both recruiting and, I guess, your job?
Well, I think that guys like me are a little more informed. You mentioned, not even probably 10 years ago, I wouldn't even know about some of these guys until, maybe May of their senior year. Now we know about freshmen, so we have more opportunities to see them. Pete mentioned getting out, and we actually get to go out and see them now, where before we wouldn't even know who they were to go out and look for them. So because we have so much more information, we have more opportunities to take a look at them, more film to check out, and I think it really makes us more informed, but again, also the coaching staff. They get more chances and opportunities to gather information and make better decisions, and that's why I think you're seeing more 5-star players hit, meaning they're successful, more 4-star players hit, and I think, again, it's because you get more information, you have a better chance of being right.
We have about 60 seconds left in this segment, so give me your overall evaluation of this class in terms of needs met.
I think needs met, it's excellent. Now, are you going to have a lot of guys that are going to play right away? Probably not. But when you talk about guys that are going to be long-term, excellent players, guys who are going to be starters, there's going to be a lot of starters on this list when their class comes time. There will be a lot of these guys will be starters for Notre Dame, and I think people will be surprised at how well they develop and become great players.
Mike, thank you so much.
Absolutely,
for the
buddy.
time. He is Mike Frank from Mike Frank Irish Sports Daily. He also does a radio show on a weekly basis, normally, especially in season, called the Power Hour. Very entertaining as well. Our coverage is about to continue. Coach Kelly is going to do a press conference that we expect to last between 30 and 45 minutes. He will go over each and every player that Notre Dame has signed today. That will be live from the auditorium in the Goog, and we will bring it to you live right here on WatchND right after this brief timeout.